on a regular basis, so that these kids listen. If I got autograph of a player when I was younger, I'm in.
Oh
There's
God, yeah.
there's no need for me to do anything else but say I love baseball because this player gave me an autograph. It's absolutely amazing.
My first Cubs game, I got to shake hands with Billy Williams.
Is that right?
It was probably 4 years before I washed that hand again.
Yeah, it makes a
I mean, I was a
difference.
boy. It probably wouldn't have got washed anyway. But
Correct. But yes, we need to have the kids connect more, the young kids,
yeah,
because it is a great game, and it's you know it's that one pitch and hit, pitcher to the one batter, running the bat. There's a lot more to it. Fielding, catching. These skills are the hardest skills to get good at in any sport. How do you teach a kid to catch a ball? Well, the kid has it or he doesn't. Um, Hitting is the same way. Eye hand coordination. You
oh
can
yeah,
get better at that, but you need to get these kids involved in the game at the professional level first. Maybe it's at the minor league level, and then take them to the Phillies because kids see the Phillies at 8 and 9, and they want to go see them. And if they could get to meet a player, even somebody who's not even playing, but a former player, wearing
yeah.
a uniform, then they're in. They're in. No
Well,
problem.
and we grew up during a different time too.
We did.
I mean, I was lucky enough within a 2 block radius of where I lived. We had probably 9 boys within 3 or 4 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a sandlot down at the bottom of the street. Yeah, there was a manhole in center field, and you had to run up a grade to get to first base. But it was our field, and it wasn't a question of are we playing tomorrow? No, it was what time's the game start,
Right.
and you did that until lunchtime. You probably didn't go to your own house that often, but your mother didn't worry because somebody else's mom fed you for that day.
Right. Exactly.
You did go to your own house for supper. Then you played till the street lights went on,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
you watched the 10 o'clock news to see the Cub highlights, and you watched the 7 o'clock cartoon show the next morning because he also had a segment where he would repeat Cub highlights.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, we just immersed ourselves in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said. It was like you said. It's a different time. Oh well. Let's hope we end up with baseball at some point soon because it's just not the same without it. But I'm not optimistic. But we will see what happens. We will see what happens.
So it's all we can do.
I know, and we'll play it as it goes. It's one of those things. We just have to be patient, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and we will. It'll be, of course, it'll be interesting to see what happens after this is over, and then what kind of negotiations happen for the beginning of the season next year. So
But there are plenty of people like us out there to commiserate with too.
that's true. That's true. And there's the Field of Dreams that is still taking people, and you can go play and have a catch.
Oh, absolutely. From 9 to 6, that's a constant pickup game,
All right.
7 days a week.
I'm going to try and get out there in the near future, Craig. I
Well,
appreciate.
let me know when you're in town.
Okay, I will definitely do that for sure. Listen, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time. It was great to talk to you about everything we've talked about, mostly the Field of Dreams and those cool little tidbits you just gave me. Um, so thanks. Continue to be
Absolutely.
safe. Continue to be safe, and we'll be in touch at some point.
All right, sounds good. Keep dreaming.
All right, we will absolutely. Thank you, Craig.
You bet.
All
Goodbye.
right, take care. All right, that was a good conversation with Craig. A lot of interesting little bits of trivia there about the movie, which is awesome, and other things about the tour that he gives, and just talking baseball is just a lot of fun. Apologize, there were some streaming issues there. I apologize. We will get this up fully recorded. I didn't have any issues with me. It was just going out there live. So we'll get that up there. Replay will go out after the show on 12 Ounce Sports on different platforms. So let's talk a little bit about, again, my bookie. Um, just wanted to keep this in the forefront of the listeners. That's very important that you, if you're really interested in betting, you got to go to mybookie.ag. They are they have so much stuff going on their website. Um, Sports are coming back. NHL, like I said before, NBA, football's coming up. They're going to match your deposit up to $1,000 when you use promo code 12OZ Sports when you sign up. That's 12OZ Sports when signing up on mybookie.ag. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL NBA playoffs with the help from your friends at 12 Ounce Sports. Use promo code 12OZ Sports when signing up on mybookie.ag to get your deposit matched up to $1,000. Alrighty. So like I said, next week, I mentioned a little bit about next week earlier. Jeff Pearlman will be on. He'll be talking about several of his books that he's written. Most recently, the one about the Lakers. We'll talk about Walter Payton and the book he wrote about Walter Payton and the Mets in '86. So that'll be a fun conversation. Emily Walden will be coming on the 23rd. That's next week. Emily is involved with minor league and Major League Baseball, sportscaster, and journalist, and she has great opinions about what's going on in baseball right now. So you'll really want to tune in and listen to her, because you should also follow her on Twitter, because she really has some great opinions, and it's fun to see what she says. She speaks her mind, and it's a beautiful thing. I love seeing the Twitter feed go crazy when she puts some stuff out there, and it's all good. And then also we're hoping to get Ben Card Art. He's another baseball artist. He's got some very unique artwork, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how busy he's been with no baseball. And the hope is that he's been busy, but hopefully he'll get busier as we may or may not get baseball. So that's next week's show. And you know what's coming up, folks? In 5 minutes, it's the Captain Lou Braganza here on 12 Ounce Sports. He's got a couple of interesting guests coming on tonight. He's got James Paxson from WSGW out of Saginaw, Michigan, at 8:30. He'll be talking about the Detroit Tigers draft and Major League Baseball and the situation that we're in. And then at 9:30, he's got a gentleman named Trevor Beard. He's an Oregon High School play-by-play man talking about West Coast sports and an organization, a movement called Let Them Play. And it's a movement for high school sports in Oregon. So stay tuned to 12 Ounce Sports to listen to Captain Lou. He's got two good guests coming on, and that should be some more interesting and fun conversation. Let's see, what's going to happen next week? Are we going to have a decision? Let me know what you think on Twitter, at the Burn Mitch on Twitter. Will we have baseball? Will we not? Also thinking of having a giveaway next week. We're going to think about what we can do. Cleaning up and cleaning out stuff in closets. I got some memorabilia that I'm trying to get rid of. So we're going to see what we can give away. Could be autographed cards. Could be some old starting lineups I have. Some old bobbleheads. So we'll see what we can do to entice you to take advantage of this giveaway, and we'll have more coming out on that on Monday before next Tuesday's show. Hockey and basketball. Hockey, they're still thinking about it in terms of how they're going to get it safe. And basketball, I think there's going to be an issue. If LeBron, I heard on a sports talk radio show here, if LeBron doesn't want to play, then nobody's going to want to play. Well, he's got all the power. People are listening to LeBron, so yeah, that might just happen. So again, we need sports. We want sports, but again, with some cases, some states, in fact, cases are going up. In the long run, is it really going to happen? I told you earlier that the number of cases in St. Louis County and Missouri are gone up 179% since last week. That's not good because they were down by 50% from the previous week. So, big issues to talk about in the sports world to pay attention to, the headlines. What will happen? We don't know. We did have the baseball draft last week, and I was pretty much happy with what the Phillies, who the Phillies picked up. So we can talk a little more about that next week. We'll talk to Emily about that and see what she thinks, and her favorite team and who she thought was a good pickup in the draft. And we will end it right there, folks. Of course, we're streaming well now, not when I have a guest, unfortunately. But what can I tell you? Things happen. At least we got most of it in without any issues today. Also, if you can go to that, if you are capable and willing to donate to the GoFundMe that I set up to support the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Adopt a Minor League Player, and Baseball for All, I would be most happy. The goal is $1,000. If I can get you all to get a friend to donate $5, we'll get there pretty quickly. So please do that if you can. I would be very, 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 very pleased and appreciative if you could donate $1 or $2 or $3 or $5, whatever you can, to those three causes. Hoping to keep this GoFundMe going throughout the middle of the summer. So we have time. I'd just like to see results. So if you can get me to see results, I would be very much appreciative of that. All right, folks. That's it for me here. Burn with Mitch coming to an end for this Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. We're going to hand it off to Captain Lou and Captain Lou's Extravaganza. Everybody have a great week. Wear your masks if you need to. Wash your hands. Stay safe. And have a great week. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Here's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty, your fans welcome you back, man.
First of all, I would like to thank the many, many fans throughout this country that wrote cards and letters to Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, while I was down. Secondly, I want to thank Jim Crockett Promotions for waiting and taking the time, because I know how important it was. Starcade 85 it is to the wrestling fans, it is to Jim Crockett Promotions. And Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, with that weight, got what I wanted. Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves in the first place. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. You don't know what hard times are, Daddy. Hard times are when the textile workers around this country are out of work and got 4 or 5 kids and can't pay their wages, can't buy their food. Hard times are when the auto workers are out of work and they tell them go home. And hard times are when a man has worked at a job 30 years. 30 years. They give him a watch, kick him in the butt, and say, hey, a computer took your place, Daddy. That's hard time. That's hard time. And Ric Flair, you put hard times on this country by taking Dusty Rhodes out. That's hard time. and we all had hard times together. I admit I don't look like the athlete of the day supposed to look. My belly's just a little big, my hand is just a little big, but brother, I am bad and they know I'm bad. And there were two bad people. One was John Wayne and he's dead, brother, and the other one's right here. Nature Boy Ric Flair. The world's heavyweight title belongs to these people. I'm gonna reach out right now. I want you at home to know my hand is touching your hand for this gathering of the biggest body of people in this country, in this universe, all over the world now. Reach it out, because the love that was given me in this time, I will repay you now, because I will be the next world's heavyweight champion on this Hard Time Blues. Dusty Rhodes Tour 85 and Ric Flair, Nature Boy. Let me leave you with this. One way to hurt Ric Flair is to take what he cherishes more than anything in the world. That's the world's heavyweight title. I'm gonna take it. I've been there twice. This time when I take it, Daddy, I'm gonna take it for you. Let's gather for it. Don't let me down now, because I came back for you, for that man up there that died 10, 12 years ago and never got the opportunity to see a real world champion. And I'm proud of you, and thank God I have you. And I love you. Love you!
All right, 5 years ago, it's hard to believe, one of the best promo makers of all time in the world of professional wrestling passed away, and we thought we'd give a little tribute to the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. You understand, he was born the son of a plumber, and he dined with kings and queens, and also had his share of pork and beans, baby. Welcome to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-Ounce Sports. Yours truly, Captain Lou, in the chair until 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight as we broadcast live from the Palatial Studios here in downtown Grand Ledge, Michigan on this summertime heat at, well, I guess summertime isn't until next week, but we got the summertime heat going, and we've got lots to talk about tonight. The NBA just came out with what their guidelines are going to be. And I'll tell you what, they're pretty strict, and they mean business as far as getting these games done. And we'll go through those here tonight, off and on through the program. And I'll tell you, they aren't strict, but they're doable. And it's a good sign for the NBA. I know they've got a lot of turmoil, right? Well, not a lot of turmoil. Let me rephrase that. They've got some feedback, a little bit of pushback from some of their players, as led by Kyrie Irving and Avery Bradley, about maybe they shouldn't be playing. Dwight Howard, maybe they shouldn't be playing this year. And they've got their various reasons. And some of them, of course, include the Black Lives Movement. And they think that more social change needs to be done and more effort by the owners. We'll try to touch on that a little bit tonight as well. The NHL has announced that their Canadian hub cities that are in the running, the Prime Minister up in Canada, Justin Trudeau, said that they don't have to sit through the 14-day quarantine once they get back into Canada on July the 10th if Toronto, Edmonton, or Vancouver are chosen as one of the hub cities. So Phase 3 training camp is starting on July the 10th in the NHL, so they're getting closer. Of course, NFL, they're still going full bore. They're looking to start their season on time, Labor Day weekend or the week after Labor Day, so we're excited about that. That leaves us our other quote-unquote Big Four major league team, or major pro sport, and that, of course, is Major League Baseball. And what I'd really like to call them, I'm not going to do it because this is somewhat of a PG show. I know I've slipped a couple of weeks ago, but let's just call it a crap show, and we'll leave it at that. And both sides, I'll tell you, they're both to blame. Now the owners, to me, are it's unacceptable. And it shows me that they really don't want to play. And it's tough because, again, we've talked about it ad nauseum here on the show. This is one of the programs or one of the sports This is the first one that I really followed in earnest, and now it's going to be one of the last. I'm about ready just to say, you know what, the hell with you guys. I'm done. But I know, and I'd be a hypocrite because they start back up with their 48-game schedule, which I think deep down they're going to do. That's what it's going to be. I said 60, but the more that they pussyfoot around and the more that now what the owners are saying, you never know. But I still think they're going to get something accomplished. I hope cooler heads prevail and they can salvage somewhat of a season. But the more they talk about it, the more of an asterisk it really is, in my opinion. And it's ridiculous. So we're going to talk about that. Coming up tonight, we've got a couple of great guests at 8:30. James Paxson is going to join us. James from WSGW Radio here in Saginaw, Michigan. Also has a great podcast. I was blessed to be a part of that. The Media's Input. That with James Paxson. You can look that up on YouTube. He's going to join us at 8:30. We're going to talk a little MLB draft with him. The Tigers, our Detroit Tigers, had a great draft this past weekend, or last week, I should say. So we're going to talk about that and some of the other teams that made some big picks. And he's a big baseball guy, too. And we're going to indoctrinate him as one of our baseball insiders along with Paul Shivari. So we're going to talk to James at 8:30. And at 9:30 tonight, we've got Trevor Beard. It'll be his first time on the show as well. He does high school play-by-play for the Westside Mobile Media out of Banks, Oregon. And they've got an interesting movement going on out in Oregon with their COVID-19 situation. They've got one of the more stricter timetables, if you will, along with Michigan. And so we're going to talk to Trevor Beard at 9:30. They've got a free-to-play initiative, I believe it's called, and they've got one of their state senators involved, and so it looks like it's going to be an interesting scene out in Oregon. But we're going to talk to Trevor about that at 9:30 Eastern time and what's going on in their world out on the west side of the country, up in the Pacific Northwest. We'll get his take maybe on the Seattle, the Seahawks, and we'll talk a little bit about what he thinks of the NBA with his Portland Trail Blazers and the movement led Damian Lillard. Looks like he's going to be one of the main leaders of the social movement of the NBA. So we'll talk to Trevor about that too as well at 9:30 Eastern time. And again, you guys have anything you want to add? My Twitter handle at the Real Captain Lou, or you can drop me a note on Facebook, the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. We encourage you to follow us on that. Don't forget, we're going to let you know right now that coming up in the fall, we're going to have our third annual Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge, where we pick 6 games, college and pro, 3 on each side. And if you could beat my picks, we're going to have that $100 Visa gift card giveaway. So a little preview of that. That's going to come up starting with the opening weekend of football, which is Labor Day weekend. We'll start out with 6 college football games. I know it's a ways out, but we just want to keep some positive thoughts amongst us here tonight with the program, with baseball and their nastiness out there. So again, we want to, we're going to talk a little bit about that as well throughout the summer. But again, we just want to let you know the Captain Lou Six-Pack Challenge will be back. Hey, I want to remind you too that 12 Ounce Sports is your home for the best live talk shows and sports broadcasts. You know, you can catch my show and all the others on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. But we also want to introduce you tonight. We are on Zingo TV, channel 761 live. Zingo TV has added 12 Ounce Sports to their long list of channels. And now if you're on your smart TV, download the app and flip to channel 761 to catch all of our live 12 Ounce Sports programming plus replays. All you got to do is download Zingo TV and use the promo code 12 ounce. That's 12OZ when signing up. It's that simple. It's free. Be sure to check out our latest blogs and podcasts as well on 12ouncesportsradio.com. Before we get going with our next topic, too, I got to tell you guys about mybookie.ag. Sports are coming back. We talked about it. Baseball, well, we don't know about that, but we've got golf. There's NASCAR if you want to bet on right now. Basketball and hockey, They've got a game plan going. We're going to talk about basketball here shortly after our first break. But they've got a game plan going. But we want to talk to you about MyBookie AG. It is the place to be. They're going to match your deposit up to $1,000 when you use the promo code 12-ounce sports when signing up. That's 12-ounce sports when signing up for MyBookie AG. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL and NBA playoffs, as we just talked about, with our friends at MyBookie.ag. Again, use the promo code 12-ounce sports when signing up at MyBookie AG to get your deposit matched up to $1,000. Also, just a reminder, when you're talking about the show on the station, we're just going by 12-ounce sports, and that's it. So here we go. All right. Well, we've got a lot to talk about again tonight. Again, James Paxton will be joining us at the bottom of the hour, and then at 9:30 Eastern Time, Trevor Beard will join us from West Side Media out in Banks, Oregon. Kind of a hotbed in that area for high school sports, and they've got a lot to talk about and an interesting initiative that they're going on, and looking forward to having Trevor come on and talk to us about that. So we talked about it. Baseball, of course, they're a mess right now. You've got a lot of writers all over the country. Great article by Bob Wojnarowski from the Detroit News. 50-game season, don't even bother. How can it's getting to the point now where, again, it's just getting borderline ridiculous. And now baseball, the owners came out. I always say Fred Manfred. He's the longtime ABC sports broadcaster from back in the 70s and 80s. Rob Manfred came out and said that unless baseball will give up their right to sue and file grievances, we can't have a season. What the hell is that? All that is a checks and balances system. Now, if the players union gets rid of that, then I'll tell you what, Tony Clark should be fired as the player agent. There's a lot on his plate. He has a lot to lose. We talked about it last week, and he's got a ton to lose right now because they got pummeled in 2016 with that CBA. The owners won out big time. The players got to take a stand. I'm not, as far as today goes, I'm really disillusioned with both sides. When they're talking about money, I get it. The players come out and say that they've already taken a pay cut. They don't want to take another one. Well, you know what? They haven't worked. Is that their pay cut? Okay, well, whose fault is that? The owners, yeah, they're at fault too. But I'm telling you, I've had it. It just gets me flustered. And now this latest thing with the owners coming out and with the thing where they don't want the players union or the players to file any grievances. And if they do, then it's a no-go. Now, I read somewhere today that 6 to 8 teams have already said that they'd be more than willing to cancel the season. And that list could be growing. I mean, it's do or die time for the MLB season right now. They are on quicksand. Thin ice, call it whatever you want, but they're there. And it is not looking good. And when you got this latest development, it's just ridiculous. So I don't know what's going on. So Major League Baseball is in trouble. We're going to talk more about that throughout the night. And it's just, that's the latest. And who knows, by the end of the show, they might come up with something else. But I think the best case scenario right now is a 48 to 60 game schedule, if that. And the league, the owners want the league over by September 27th so they can get the playoffs done before the possibility of that second wave of the coronavirus comes in the fall or early winter. So they're banking on that. The owners are crying poverty right now, and it's hard for me to listen to that when, again, we talked about it at length, and I'll bring it up again. The difference between 48 games and 82 games or 70 games is about 375 to 380 million. You've got 31 teams in that boat, so that's about $11.5 million a team. That's a fourth starter. I will pound that point to tell you how petty the owners are. But the problem is the players are always going to look like the bad guys because they take the bait from the owners. They get out on social media and they start whining about how making $9 million or $4 million is not going to be enough this year, worth the risk. And that's where guys like me who go out and work for a living, a real job, an essential job or a hard job, and I'm not saying theirs isn't difficult. They've worked their asses off to get where they've gotten. And God bless them for getting all those millions of dollars. But when they go on there and say stuff like that, when you've got guys and gals working ordinary 9-to-5 jobs, or in my case, 5-to-5 jobs, and busting our asses, we don't want to hear that. We're out there taking the risk as well. We've taken pay cuts. Some of us in the entertainment and restaurant business, their jobs aren't coming back. And for them to sit there and say they can't stomach a pay cut, they can't go back on 80 to 90%, where they would still be making, the lowest guy would be making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the big time players would only make $8 million. That's where I really find I just can't feel sorry for him. Just can't do it. And that's where both sides lose me. And it's ridiculous. And I know, excuse me, I know I keep going on the rant. We listened at the top of the show, Dusty Rhodes, the hard times. Well, hard times have not hit baseball. Hard times have hit us. We're getting through it, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I believe the coronavirus is flattening. As far as the sporting world, the other sports are getting ready to play. They've got legitimate plans up, and you've got Major League Baseball just floundering. And it's a shame because we got a lot to talk about it tonight. We had the MLB draft, which is always fun to look at. This year was a little different, only 5 rounds because of what's going on right now. And it gives some of the lower teams a little bit of life. And, I think my Tigers had a great draft. They should. They were the worst team in the league. But they did get some studs, and it's going to be fun to watch them develop. So, really is difficult to keep bannering on baseball. But, they're making their own beds. It's ridiculous. It really is. They the constant petty bickering on both sides. And greed has taken over. The owners and to some extent the players. But the players now have put the owners on the onus. They said they're going to show up and play. They called the owners bluff. Now we'll see what the owners have to say. And I give Tony Clark credit for saying that. But I also, Tony Clark has got to win this one. He's got to come out, at least in 2020, in the public's eye as the winner. Because he is facing an uphill battle at the end of 2021. And he lost in 2016. And I'm surprised he still is the head of the Players Union. But I'll tell you what, he has got his work cut out because the seeds have been set. They've been planted. This is going to be ugly for MLB, not only through this year, but through all of next year, and then at the end of that CBA, if there isn't a lockout or a strike. And heaven forbid we have another outbreak where their season gets delayed next year. Baseball may not recover. The young fans, they're not there. We got to get them back. The old parts like me, we'll still be watching. There are some young fans, a lot of them. James Paxton is one of them. He's going to come up in about 10 minutes. So we'll talk to him about that. But there is a lot. MLB is just, they're in quicksand right now. And that sucks. It really does. We're going to step aside, take a break. We come back, we'll talk a little NBA. And again, at the bottom of the hour, James Paxton will join us. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
DrinkAid, ready for distribution worldwide.
Esports are here to stay. Go to jazzsports.ag, log into your account, and look for our new esports section on the top of your screen. Browse through all the different available matches and watch them live with our exclusive esports betting platform. Get instant access to game results, pending and graded bet reports, outright bet types, and upcoming match schedules, all at the easy reach of your fingertips. Jazz Sports puts you in the game.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports. Hey, just a reminder that if you're looking to freshen up your look for this summer, or if you're looking for a quick Father's Day present, hint, hint, you might want to check out 12 Ounce Sports' new line of clothing. We've got everything from shirts to sweaters to beach towels, phone cases. I think we've got some coffee mugs, some pens, pencils, you name it. Find the store online today at 12ouncesportsradio.com under the Our Store tab. There you'll find a wide variety of clothing items, colors, and sizes that suit your style. That's the 12ouncesports.com under the Our Store tab. Hey, I want to talk about something that one of our guys is trying to get together, and I think it's a great cause. Right before me is Mitch Bernstein. The Burn with Mitch is on from 6 to 8 Eastern Time live here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. This guy does an absolute great show, by the way. He gets some phenomenal guests, big baseball guy. And you want to talk about baseball, this is the guy to talk to. I mean, he's got stories. He's a fountain of information, encyclopedia of knowledge, if you will. And he's got something going on. He's got a GoFundMe account set up to celebrate National Play Catch Week, which starts this Sunday. He's going to try to raise money for the Negro Leagues Museum, adoptaminorleaguer.org, and at Baseball for All. That's a nonprofit promoting girls and women playing baseball. And again, check that out. Just go to GoFundMe and the Play Catch Day organized by Mitch Bernstein. And you can find out more about that. But it's a great promotion that he's doing. And again, Mitch is he loves baseball. He talks about it a lot. He gets some great guests, entertainment guests. Check out his show, by the way. It's right before us. We got a great tag team night on Tuesday nights with Mitch Bernstein and yours truly here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And he's a Phillies fan too, which, I guess that's all right. So as long as they don't play the Tigers someday in the World Series, I think we'll be all right. So anyways, welcome back to the show here tonight. Again, in about 5 minutes, James Paxton's going to join us live here on the program. We got lots to talk about with James, and apologize about a little bit of a video glitch we had there. We'll see if we can't figure that out while we're talking to James here in this first half hour with our commercials. A little bit off center. I've been called that before in my day too. So I guess it works today, man. It's just been one of them crazy years. Everything's going on real difficult. We're going to talk about the NBA. Don't worry. We've got lots of time to talk about that. James is coming up here shortly, so I don't want to get into it and then have to cut away from it. But I do want to talk about it in the third half hour of our show, if not before that. Their guidelines for the NBA starting their camps up in July are very stringent. But they're doable, as I mentioned at the top. Everywhere from the amount of guests you can have, what you need to do as far as what they're going to do for testing and their preventative measures, what they can have, and where they can go to eat and whatnot. It really, and they're going to kind of give their timetable of exhibition games and whatnot. So we're going to run through that as that was broken in the Athletic here in the last hour. So we're going to run through that in our second hour of the show, and possibly after our interview with James Paxton here shortly. So we are going to talk about that then. I just didn't really want to get into it too much here and step aside from it. And also, the NHL is starting back up with their training camps on July 10th. And also, they had a firing, kind of an odd firing in the NHL, as the Buffalo Sabres got rid of their GM today. And that, of course, being, Jason Botterill. He's going to be replaced by Kevin Adams. And I know that Botterill was not exactly that well liked by some of the bigger players. Jack Eichel, for example, is, I don't think he was on his Christmas card list. Back on May 29th, Eichel said, "Hey, I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up and frustrated." And he says, "I'd be lying if I said I was not getting frustrated the way things are going." And I'm sure that voice carried a lot of weight in that locker room, because that is the last thing that the Buffalo Sabres need, is to lose a center like Jack Eichel to free agency coming up. So, when the big stars talk, the owners listen. And Buffalo's close to making the playoffs, but Botterill just couldn't get them there, as Buffalo hasn't qualified for the playoffs since 2011. And Jason's record in his last 3 years, all losing seasons. So he was replaced by Kevin Adams today. But, the timing just out of the blue just happened this afternoon, as they're not going to be going to the playoffs. So some changes made there. And so maybe that'll help Buffalo's fortunes coming up in the coming years, starting with the draft coming up this summer. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So lots to talk about. Real quick with the NFL, I see that some of the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys tested positive for COVID. And one of them, it was Zeke Elliott. Now, they didn't have it happen at the training camp, but it was, one of those things where they've got it. They're all feeling good, but they tested positive for it. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. These are little things that you're going to have to keep an eye on. The WWE, for example, they had one of their enhancement talent. For those of you that watch pro wrestling on Monday nights and Friday nights, or the pay-per-views, you notice that they tape them in front of just their own enhancement talent and maybe a few other stragglers on. They're letting a few more people in. Well, one of the enhancement talent tested positive for COVID. So they've halted the tapings right now for the WWE, for Raw and whatnot. We got to keep an eye on that. We talk about that quite often here on the show. But right now, let's go to our guest line. And joining us now on the other end of the line, James Paxton from WSDGW. And also, he's got a great podcast out on YouTube called The Media's Input. And I invite you to take a listen to that sometime, or watch it, I should say, because they have some great interviews on there. James, thanks for taking time out. How are you tonight?
Well, I'm good. Unfortunately, we got to complain about baseball for about 15 to 20 minutes, but I'm happy to be on the show, happy to be talking with you, and hopefully we can have a better talk than any of the baseball talks, because, man, this is just getting depressing.
Oh, my God, James. I talked about it earlier. I was kind of like Switzerland on this with, 50% of the blame to the owners, 50% to the players. And this latest development, or whatever you want to call it, with Rob Manfred Monday night saying that if the players don't give up the right to file grievances or whatnot, then there's not going to be a season. The players aren't going to do that. That's just ridiculous. And that's just sending another signal that maybe the owners aren't that serious about playing. I
actually believe that the report that came out today that said 6 or 8 owners don't want to play. I think it's more. And I think they were being very nice in saying only about a fifth or a sixth of the league doesn't want to do this. I personally think a lot of these owners are going to be okay, Lou, with just scrapping this season.
Well, I tell you what, James, it's starting to scare me because now what do you think? Do you think that you think Chris Ilitch is one of them?
I have no idea if Chris Ilitch is one of them, but I wish I knew the names on this list because it would make more sense if we knew who it was. And since we already know about a number of who it was, they could just give us a name or so. It wouldn't surprise me if the Yankees are on there with all this, did they steal signs or not? They're like, maybe we don't even need baseball right now.
And that's, again, you hit another, just touched on another point. You know, I don't want this to be a doom and gloom interview, but, you know, now you've got the Yankees that, you know, they've kept their allegations hush-hush. They've had it sealed, and now the courts are saying, you got to open them up, man. And now the Yankees. Now, is something really, even if it happens that they cheated, do you honestly think that the Yankees are going to get hit with anything harder than the Red Sox?
No, come on. It's the Yankees, Lou. First off, my 2 quick points with this is, one, clearly nobody cares about sign stealing. The Astros got off very easy. And then probably the thing that made me the most angry is that they're just going to go with their suspensions this year. Even if they don't play a game, even if COVID comes back and we can't play a game, they're like, all right, yeah, they served their suspensions. They're good.
Oh,
what?
Yeah. Oh, that's.
And secondly, it's the Yankees, Lou. It's the Yankees. They're the most hated franchise in all of sports, most likely. And they've been able to do whatever they want just because of the payroll. I mean, yeah, they've had some talent, and yeah, they've been awesome. But let's be honest with it. They've probably won a lot of their World Series just based on being richer than everyone else, not better.
Oh, 100%. They're kind of like, you know, I'm not taking anything away what the Red Wings did in 2002, but that's what Detroit did. And they put together a lineup that was, 9 Hall of Famers. They bought their way to that one at the trade deadline, and they had such an enormous amount of talent. But you're right. The Yankees, you know, they've bought in quite a few championships. I will give you that. And the point that you made about the suspensions, if they don't play a game this year and their suspensions, that's going to count. That is the biggest joke. That is the biggest farce. That's like telling somebody that blows out their Achilles right after or right before they got nailed for drugs that, oh, yeah, you're going to be hurt for the whole year, but that'll count as your suspension. That to me is that is such a farce, and that's what baseball is doing, and it's killing me.
The sport of baseball has been in a little bit of a downhill for a while, but unfortunately, I have one man to blame, and he's been the commissioner since 2015, and I don't think he's done a lot right.
No.
I think he's done a lot wrong. Ever since he got the job, people were already confused by what he was doing when he already knew about the Miami Marlins, and Jeter and his team made that whole organization almost obsolete. And now with the sign stealing, and then now with this, the scariest part about this to me, Lou, is this is just a preview for in a year and a half to 2 years from now, the CBA expires December 1st, 2021. And it's looking like if they can't figure stuff out now, they're never going to be able to figure it out. So the sport is in the worst it's been probably ever. I wasn't around in 1994, so you would have to tell me what exactly was so bad about that year. But they're going to lose so many fans if they don't play this year. And then most people are going to be angry at the players for not playing this year. But I'm on the players' side. They're telling them, tell us when to show up, where and when. Tell us when to show up, where and when. Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, and a bunch of players today. Justin Verlander was one of them too. Went to Twitter and said, tell us where and when. Just tell them, they'll go play.
Well, they have to. And here's my thing on this. And you made a great point, and I touched on it earlier about the CBA. if you think it's ugly now, it's going to get even worse because these players, if the season's lost, the players are going to keep that in their hip pockets. And if they play, it's even going to be worse because they're going to begrudgingly play it. Now, my other point is with Tony Clark, to me, he lost with that CBA in 2016. And I'm surprised that he's still even around as the players had. He's got a lot at stake here, and so he's got to play the tough guy. And I think this latest episode with what you just said, I think he played his cards and he won this hand. And that's a step in the right direction for him because the onus is on the owners. I saw where the Yankees president came out and said, get this stuff done. Let's try to do it. But James, I tell you, this is worse than 94 and 95 because we didn't have a pandemic back then. It was just two sides that were stubborn, and the owners just said nope, and the players, it was terrible.
Baseball should have been the easiest sport to figure out with this pandemic, and here's why. They didn't have playoffs or a championship on the line at all. Their regular season hadn't even started when this started. So it was pretty simple to me. You go, all right, cut the season in half. Everyone loses their pay before games start. When games start, everyone gains their pay, and you figure out if you want fans there. And that's it. It should have been so easy. Hockey, I have no idea in the world how hockey and basketball has figured this out, but baseball hasn't.
It's funny because everybody has been bagging on Gary Bettman for how many years, and justifiably so. But now he's looking like a genius, and hockey looks like they're getting closer to startup with July 10th for their training camp. And as I mentioned, it was just announced today that the 3 hub cities in Canada, the candidates rather, they don't have to have the 14-day quarantine, so they're going full speed ahead, and it's baseball just but let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's do a little hot stove here while I got you on. Let's start with the Tigers. Now, with their draft last week, I mean, obviously getting Spencer Torkelson, holy cow. I think he could be one of those a transcendent player, and I think he's got an opportunity to come in and shine for Detroit for a lot of years. Obvious no-brainer with the first pick of the draft.
I loved it, and quite frankly, I don't want to put too much on this guy's shoulders, but I think he's going to be one of the best hitters in the organization for a while, and I think he's going to be able to come up to the majors and do really well. I mean, with all of his time at Arizona State and his 2 years in summer ball, Lou, he had an OPS of 1.192 and a batting average of 337 with power. I really don't even care if he's going to play third or first. He's going to hit the ball so hard. He's got potential. And all I get excited about is Riley Green third, Spencer Torkelson fourth. Just in 4 or 5 years, those two guys could turn this lineup around completely.
Oh, man, it is exciting. You've got some young pitchers in the farm system. If they can stay healthy, Casey Mize, I just get excited just thinking about him coming up in a couple to 3 years. They've got a core coming up. The future's looking bright. I like what they did this year. I like the bats they got. I like Dylan Dingler. I love Trey Cruz, and I even like Colt Keith. Not only can he hit, but he can throw the ball 93 miles an hour. So you've got the ultimate versatile pitcher there.
The Tigers completely changed my mind about Al Avila this year because I didn't really like what he was doing, and I don't think he's ever necessarily won a trade. The Nick Castellanos ordeal is probably going to come back to bite him in the ass. Probably. And there's been a couple other trades where it's like, you're not getting anything for these guys. But this year, Lou, he's got the pitchers. He's got Mize. He's got Skubal. He's got Bo Burrows. He's got some players already in the system that are going to come up in the next couple of years. So you know what you do, Lou? You don't get a lot of high school guys who are 18 years old. You get college bats. And he got college bats. And you know what else he did? he got some power. Because this Tigers lineup did not have a lot of power last year, and it made us scared.
Boy, I'll tell you what, James, that Detroit's team last year was one of the weakest hitting teams I've seen in a Tiger uniform in my life, and man, they had to do what they did. And I'm with you. I am glad Avila did what he did. I like the route he took by getting the bats. I mean, did you ever think you'd see a lineup like that, what Detroit put out, as weak as it was at the plate?
No, unfortunately, I would not. But not even just talking about the batting, I think he found a really, really good catcher. Because I don't think Jake Rogers is going to work out as much as people hope. And I think Dylan Dingler is going to be the number one catcher in the next couple of years.
Boy, he's got an arm, doesn't he?
He does.
You know, and it's so athletic. You know, I watched a little bit of a couple of clips on him over the weekend. And, yeah, and I love Cabrera. You know, I think, yeah, the future's bright. I got to ask you, sticking with the draft, I don't know if you know a whole lot about this guy, but you're a CMU guy. The Brewers took Xavier Warren, speaking of catchers, in the 3rd round. I don't know if there's ever been a Central Michigan player drafted that high in the draft.
I don't know if there's ever been someone drafted that high, but out of everything I've seen, he's going to do very well with the Brewers organization. He did very well with CMU, and everyone basically wasn't even, shocked when he got picked. Yeah, it was great, and it was almost like, ooh, a CMU guy up there. That's a little different, but, you know, he did really, really well, Lou, and he can probably be a really good bat coming up in the next couple years. And I have it right now on my computer for you, Lou. He was the highest Chippewa drafted since Doug Harrison went to the LA Dodgers in the 3rd round in 1977.
Wow. Now that's before I followed Central Michigan baseball. I was hoping you were going to say Kevin Tapani, who pitched for the White Sox and the Cubs. I think it was in the Astros, because I played high school football against him one game, and he ran by me so fast before I could even look. And I remember I played American Legion baseball against him, and let's just say that I was embarrassed at the plate. That's for sure. We're joined by James Paxton, he's going to be one of our new baseball insiders here. Check out his podcast, the Media's Input podcast on YouTube. Great guest. It's a great watch, and he's also a host for WSGW Radio in Saginaw. He did pre and post game for the Spirit, right? The Saginaw Spirit. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And we had good OHL news today, Lou, is that the OHL commissioner said we're planning on having the season this fall. We're talking to everyone to make it safe, and it was very good, positive words that I think in this upcoming season, the OHL is going to be a really good league coming up.
Oh, that's a great league to watch. If you like, the up-and-comers of hockey, the OHL is where it's at. It's always been a fantastic league and a very strong league, and it's great to see it's very well represented here in the state of Michigan.
Oh, yeah. There's with Flint and Saginaw this past year, there were so many great players, and I was lucky enough to where in the radio broadcast, I got to perform the games that Cole Perfetti was in. And then for some of the home games, Lou, I was able to work a camera.
Nice.
And even though I'm probably one of the worst cameramen in Saginaw Spirit history, I still was able to catch Cole Perfetti, who is going to be one of the best young hockey players in the next upcoming years, Lou. He's going to be a top 10 draft pick. He's going to be an excellent assist maker. You know those types of hockey players, Lou, where they're always looking for the open shot. Mm-hmm. The pass is almost more impressive than the goal that was scored. That's going to be Perfetti.
Well, I look forward to watching him and listening and everything else this year with that. It's going to I've got the itch for hockey, and we'll talk about that in a second. I want to get back to baseball. I was on your podcast last week, and again, I appreciate you having me on. Your sleeper pick was the White Sox. And I look at their draft that they had this year, James, and they took all pitchers in the first 5 rounds. And this Garrett Crochet from Tennessee, or Crochet, they're calling him They're comparing him to Chris Sale and Madison Bumgarner.
Those are two names that are pretty good to be compared to, Lou.
Yeah.
White Sox got a lot of good hitters, so going with all pitchers was probably a good idea. Because I don't know if you agree with this or not, I think it takes pitchers longer to develop than hitters.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's that case for every single one, but you need to get some good pitchers, and it's going to take probably 4 to 5 years. Like Casey Mize, you're probably not going to see him if there's a season this year.
No.
And you may not see him next year. So the pitchers need time to develop. And some of the pitchers they got this year, they're going to go really well with some other batters that they have. I think the Chicago White Sox for the next 10 years are the AL Central's premier team. And they could sneak into an ALCS, I think. I love what the White Sox did. I think they're going to be great. And if there's a season this year, they could sneak in to maybe the AL Central champs this season.
They're close, and they've gone the route maybe of Houston, what they did, not quite to the extent where they tanked like the Astros did about 5 to 6 years ago, but they've built that farm system. You talk about patience, James. They've been patient, for years, and it's about time that they bust out. But I really think that that I can't argue with you because Detroit's a few years away. Kansas City, I don't know. I think Cleveland I think they've hit their wall. And with the Twins are good, but I think that, they're going to be everybody's pick probably. But the White Sox, I think, might be the sexy pick. I like that.
It's just a team you need to look out for because I think it's a team that's got a couple guys here who can really hit the long ball. And you're going to see the White Sox, if there's a season this year, they may be the team to be up there for the home runs.
I don't know if you know anything about this guy right here, but I was looking through the draft, and the one that caught my eye, and it was from watching him against Michigan in the College World Series, was Tyler Brown, the right-handed pitcher from Vanderbilt. The Astros got him in the 3rd round, and I love this guy. I think that was a steal right there. He was the lights-out closer for Vanderbilt. And it sounds like they might even try to convert him to starting. But I love that pick, just out of the blue. And also Oakland getting Jeff Criswell from Michigan. Those 2 picks, very high on.
Well, I don't know much about both guys.
Okay.
But what I do know about Tyler Brown is he's a big, hard, fast pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this guy will throw the ball hard, and he's a bigger guy. And I do think he's going to be able to be really successful for the Houston Astros organization.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch. Hopefully, within the next year or two. It's the only part of good news that we've got with baseball is that the Pit Spitters from Traverse City, they announced that they're going to be starting their league up on July 1st, and I mean. That's the only bit of good news that we've been able to get out of baseball. Besides the draft, since last year. And it really is sad. I don't want to keep going back to the doom and gloom, James, but, give me your gut feeling. Do you think there's going to be a season?
It's really close, but if you're asking for my gut feeling, between 50 and 60 games, and there will be a season. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's not a season. There definitely won't be any more than 60 games. That's my number right there. Maximum 60 games.
Yeah, and 100%. Because the owners they're not going to want to lose any more money than they absolutely positively have to. And I think I told this to you on your podcast. I keep harping on this point. If they were to play 76 games, the difference between that and 48 per each team is the price of a 4th starter. And that's where I don't feel sorry for the owners. And they can cry poverty all they want. I don't buy it. But where I fault the players is that they're falling for the manipulation. They're going to social media. They're making themselves look bad in the eyes of the public. And that's where I think that Tony Clark has got to be a leader and tell them, you guys got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was on the player side when this started because it was like you want them to make that much money, even though like they're not going to make their full salary, and there's so much risk involved. And one thing that's not being talked about enough is the risk of injury. A lot of these guys are going to get injured because they're not going to have a normal spring training that they're having.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be guys, if there is a season, who aren't going to participate.
Well, real quick, while I got you on the horn, you're kind of a hockey guy. I noticed today they came out and said that the 3 teams in Canada, that are the 3 hubs rather, that are vying for the hub, they don't have to have the quarantine, so they can get there right away. That's a good sign for hockey. I just, boy, what do you think of the 24-game playoff?
I mean, I like it. It's what you got to do. Nothing's going to look great because of the coronavirus right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what they have in system is going to work, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch. And once they figure out their hub city, it's going to be more like soaked in, at least for me. Like right now, it's cool, but I'm not that excited yet because I still have a little bit of, maybe it's not going to work if they can't find a hub city. So once they find their hub city and they go all for it, I'm definitely going to be excited, and I think it's going to work out well. And, we said this a little bit last week, even though I'm not ready to pick like a for sure team.
Yeah.
But I do think one of those teams that are in between the 16 to 24 seeds, they may sneak in because it's a weird year.
I 100% agree. Watch out for one of those 11 seeds in each side. They could definitely make some noise, and I'm looking like an 11th seed, like maybe the New York Rangers or even the Canadians. I know that sounds crazy, but Carey Price, if he lives up to his billing, and hockey, if you get a hot goaltender, man, he could carry you a long ways. James, before I let you go, I know baseball is your favorite sport. How do you rank the sports in your popularity, the major ones?
You mean personally to me?
Yeah,
or
personally to you. Personally to you. What does James Paxson, what's his order of preference for the major sports, or even another sport that isn't in the top 4 that, in the country that might be in your top 4?
Okay, well, like most people, number 1 has to be NFL football, and that's not a shock. Number 2 for me, Lou, is college basketball. I am a huge Kentucky Wildcat fan. I was crushed when March Madness wasn't around, and I love watching college basketball because you get some of these guys who are in there and they just flourish like crazy. And even if they're on some bad teams, I still love watching it. Number 3 is baseball for me. And, of course, hockey's up there. The NBA is up there. There's not a major 4 sport that I'm not interested in. But I am very excited today because you mentioned some of my favorite sports. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be in the Hall of Fame for NASCAR. And I am a huge NASCAR guy. I haven't watched the sport as much as I'd like to in the past couple years, but thanks to this year, I can watch a lot of it. And I've always been into it, been around cars my whole entire life, and I do enjoy watching NASCAR on Sundays.
Oh, great! That's a great. You've got a cornucopia, and you're like me. You like all the sports, man, and that's where I'm excited. As crazy as it sounds, I'm looking forward to who would have thought we'd be looking forward to a August 20th where we can maybe watch an NHL playoff game. We could watch an NBA playoff game instead of talking about a third-string guard trying to make it in the NFL, and maybe watching a baseball game. But we're going to have a cornucopia of sports this fall, and it's going to be kind of dizzying, but it's going to be right up our alley.
It's unfortunate that this year, if all these sports work out, including baseball, I'm not going to any weddings. Sorry. October's going to be full. It's going to be backed up. Once my girl says, hey, we could do this, I'm going to be like, no, I'm sorry. I have the ALCS. I have college football. I have, NFL football. I'm sorry. October, I'm booked. I'll see you in November.
I've got one wedding to go to Labor Day weekend on Friday night. Fortunately, I do play-by-play football for Freeland, and they're on Thursday night with that weekend. And my buddy's son's getting married, and they're both big sports fans. So I think if there is a major game, somebody will bring a little Apple TV, or some of us will be watching it on our phones, and we won't get in trouble. So,
yeah, you hope.
Yeah, I hope is right. James, this has been an absolute pleasure. I hope to have you on the show again. Maybe we'll get you on once we get a definitive answer on baseball. We can talk about our predictions if they decide to play a game. But I'd love to have you on. Keep up the great work with the Media Input podcast and everything else you're doing. And again, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Lou. Hope to talk to you soon.
You bet. That's James Paxson from the Media Input podcast, WSGW Radio out of Saginaw, and a fountain of information to him baseball. He's going to be one of our baseball insiders, I think, coming up here on the show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into the NBA talk. Their playoff or their guidelines were announced tonight. The Athletic was able to get information on that. We're going to go through it, and it's stringent, but it's doable, like we said. And we're going to go into that and more. And again, coming up at the bottom of the second hour, we're going to have Trevor Beard from Westside Mobile Media out in Oregon. And we're going to talk some high school football and the high school movement for sports that's going on out there and everything else going out on the West Coast. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports.
Drinkade, ready for distribution worldwide.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Esports are here to stay. Go to jazzsports.ag, log into your account, and look for our new esports section on the top of your screen. Browse through all the different available matches and watch them live with our exclusive esports betting platform. Get instant access to game results, pending and graded bet reports, outright bet types, and upcoming match schedules, all at the easy reach of your fingertips. Jazz Sports puts you in the game.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports as we hit hour number 2 of our program. I want to thank James Paxson from WSGW Radio in Saginaw and also the Media's Input podcast for joining us here on the show tonight. And again, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Trevor Beard from Westside Mobile Media will be joining us. We'll talk some Oregon sports in that area. Hey, again, I want to mention something that's going on. Mitch Bernstein, he does his show, The Burn with Mitch, on from 6 until 8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday nights, right before us here on 12 Ounce Sports. And he's got something going on that I kind of want to talk about. He's got a GoFundMe account that is started up for Play Catch Day. It's going to be National Play Catch Week starting on Sunday. And they're trying to raise money for the Negro Leagues Museum, also adoptaminorleaguer.org, and the Twitter handle @BaseballForAll, a nonprofit promoting girls and women's baseball. And so if you get a chance, check that out. And some great, it's a great cause. Mitch is really heavily involved in baseball in the Philadelphia for in the Philadelphia area. He's a great baseball mind. He gets a lot of great guests, and this is another, just another cause that he is a part of, and we appreciate that you check it out. Again, that's the GoFundMe account for. They're going to celebrate National Play Catch Week, and that's coming up this Sunday. And so we want to just kind of draw your attention to that. Also, we just want to give you a reminder, if you're looking to freshen up your look this summer, and I know you are, I'm always trying to freshen up my look. Maybe I have to drop a few pounds or something. But anyways, I can freshen up my look just by checking out 12 Ounce Sports' new line of clothing. We've got everything from shirts to sweaters to beach towels and iPhone cases. We might have some pencils, left some pens, coffee mugs. We've got a great assortment. These long sleeve zip up jackets, these are awesome, man. I love this jacket. I wear it everywhere. So all you need to do is go to 12ouncesportsradio.com and hit the Our Store tab. It's that simple. Then you'll find a wide variety of clothing items, colors, sizes that suit your style. And that, of course, is 12ouncesportsradio.com, and check out the Our Store tab. Also, 12 Ounce Sports is your home for the best live talk shows and sports broadcasts. I want to remind you that we are on Zingo TV right now as well. Channel 761. You'll see our show live and, of course, some of our taped shows, including the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Zingo TV has added 12 Ounce Sports to their long list of channels. And like I said, we are on Channel 761. Now, if you're on a smart TV, just download the app. You can watch it on your Roku stick as well on your big screen. You can also catch all of our live 12 Ounce Sports programming, plus the replays like I mentioned. All you got to do, again, download the Zingo TV app and use the promo code 12 Ounce. That's 12OZ when signing up. It's that easy, I'm telling you. If I can do it, you all can do it, trust me. Be sure to check out our latest blogs and podcasts as well on 12ouncesportsradio.com. And, before we get going on the NBA and we want to talk about their guidelines and whatnot, I got to tell you guys about MyBookie AG. Sports are coming back, and, baseball, well, maybe. Hockey and basketball, they've got a game plan, but we've got golf right now, NASCAR, as James mentioned, soccer, whatever. MyBookie.ag is the place to be. They're going to match your first deposit up to $1,000 when you use the promo code 12 Ounce Sports when signing up. That's 12 Ounce Sports when signing up for MyBookie.ag, or .ag rather. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL and NBA playoffs, which are going to be starting up in August. And again, it's going to be a fall of some great sports. And this is the time to get yourself ready. Use the promo code 12 Ounce Sports when signing up at mybookie.ag to get your deposit matched up to $1,000. So just, again, check it out. The website's awesome. And if you're a sports junkie like I am and you got a couple of shackles that you can afford to put down, it's safe. And who knows, maybe you can be smarter than me. You might win a few more shackles. And you can get yourself sitting pretty good while you're watching your favorite sporting event. That's at mybookie.ag. Well, we talked about it in the first hour, and the NBA, they're looking to start up on July 31st with their season. They've got 8 play-in games, if you will, seeding games, I guess, to help determine if there's going to be a play-in tournament for the 8th seed in each conference. And these 8 games are going to be getting everybody set up for the 16-team, 4-round, 7-game NBA playoffs, whatever. But the guidelines have been set out, and I got to give credit to Shamus Sharania from The Athletic for coming up with it and getting the story out in The Athletic here probably about 2 or 3 hours ago. It breaks down into 4 phases. Phase 1 is starting right now. They should have returned to their home market by June 15th or around next week, the 22nd, for mandatory testing. The only exception is the Toronto Raptors, because of their quarantine issues in Canada. They're going to go right to Naples. But I'm going to fast forward some of this right now. I'm going to go right to phase 5, which is July 22nd through. Well, actually, let's go to phase 4 because this is interesting. Until July 21st, players they're required to only have brief interactions with players residing in other hotels that are encountered in common areas. Any meal eaten with a player from another team on another team, if you're with the Bucks or whatever, and you're going to eat a meal with somebody from, let's say Orlando, then those meals have to be eaten outside. Players are not permitted to enter into each other's hotel rooms due to the infection concerns. Disney chefs will prepare daily meals, and there will be room service option. Food deliveries to the campus are not permitted. Now, a player can hire his own personal chef located outside the NBA campus at his own expense, and they can send the food on a daily basis, but they've got to get all that approved and signed up. No one will be prevented from leaving the NBA campus, but the expectation is that all players will remain there. Now, here's the caveat. If a player leaves without prior approval, upon re-entry, he'll be subject to enhanced testing, including that deep swab that I had taken back in March. And I'll tell you what, that is not pleasant. I've been through that. I've told you guys about that. And I had it go in my nose 3 times and down my throat twice. And I'll tell you what, it was nasty. That was one of the most painful tests I've ever had. But anyways, not only do they have to have that, but they've got to go on a 10 to 14-day self-quarantine period and a reduction in compensation for any game which he is unable to play as a result from that absence on campus. So in other words, they're going to have to, they're going to stay there pretty much the whole time, unless, again, they've got an excused absence. So phase 5 is July 22nd through the 29th. The teams are going to play 3 scrimmage games against other NBA teams residing in their hotel. Now, the hotels are broken down. I believe there's I want to say 7 per hotel, 7 or 8. So I don't know the exact names of who's at what hotel, but they're going to play scrimmage games against those teams. Now, from July 22nd until the end of the season, players are permitted to socialize with players and teams from hotels other than the one that they're residing. The only thing is that they won't be able to go into their individual hotel rooms. So once phase 5 hits, it loosens up a little bit, but it's still kind of strict. Now, phase 6, again, this is where they play the 8 seeding games. That's July 30th. And then upon completion of each team's seasons, the team will immediately depart the NBA campus. For each player to leave the NBA campus, he must have returned a negative PCR result within 24 hours of his scheduled departure. So they're going to have to test before they leave. Now, each team that advances past the first round of the playoffs will be permitted to reserve up to 17 guest rooms for guests of their players. Players are responsible for the cost of each hotel room that they have for a guest of theirs. The cost of meals and testing for player guests will not be charged to the players, though. So they're going to be responsible for their own hotel room. All player guests must undergo 3 days of self-quarantine and testing, either in a house or a hotel in the team's home market or in Orlando outside the campus. And assuming that the player guest does not report positive, then the player will be able to come to the campus, but must remain in quarantine for 4 days upon arrival while having COVID testing each of those days. Now, here's another one that's kind of crazy, and agents aren't eligible to come on the campus unless they're a family member. And again, once the player guests leave, they're not allowed to return. So if they've got a guest that's coming in for, I don't know, say for the second, third, and fourth round, then they're there. And once they leave, they can't come back. So that's those are some strict rules. And it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And the more you think about it with the NBA with this bubble format, this is a long time. And it's going to be through July or all of August, all of September, half of October. But you got to think about before that, they're going to start going down there for training camp, and that's coming up right around July 10th. So some of these teams are going to be there for 3 months, and that's going to be a long time. And there's no home court advantage for anybody here. There's no advantage really. And it really is going to be a test. And I can see where there's some apprehension for some of the teams that might not want to participate, some of the players. It's going to be difficult. And so it really it's going to be interesting to see. One of the things that I found too on this, effective July 7th, random anti-drug testing will resume, but only for SPEDs and diuretics. No testing will be done for recreational substances, but players remain subject to discipline for possession of prohibited recreational substances. One thing to keep in mind, recreational use of marijuana is not legal in the state of Florida, so they're going to have to kind of check that before they get there. Everybody on the NBA campus before July 9th is going to be required to wear a face mask at all times, except when eating or in their individual rooms or during a workout. The protocol of 6 foot distancing is going to try to be respected at all times, but they're going to ask them maybe to wear an Aura smart ring that will help them with early detection of coronavirus, that will help track temperature, respiratory, and heart rates too. It's pretty intense, but it has to be. And, there's going to be a lot of restrictions. And, not only with the players, now you're going to be thinking with the broadcasters, how are they going to do this? Are they going to be there live? That's my question. I'm assuming they're going to be there. Some of the play-by-play people are going to be there live. They're not going to do it remotely. I don't know. I'm guessing they're going to be there live. It's, I don't know. That's going to be fun to watch. It is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be something different. We talked about it, and is there going to be an asterisk behind it? I don't know. I mean, they played 70 games. You think back to when they only played 50 games. What was it, 99 with the lockout? Nobody's saying anything to the San Antonio Spurs. They're not calling their tournament or their NBA championship tainted, or there was an asterisk by it. They're going to have to earn it here, and it's going to be very, what is it going to be like playing in front of no fans again? I think once you get playing, it's going to be all right. Now you're thinking this is a lot of rules. There's a lot to go by here. But, somebody wrote too, they're making good money to do this. And, I don't know. There's a lot to think about, and they're taking a lot of precautions, but they have to. There's no getting around it because it really is something to behold. So with all these regulations and with my question is, how many guests are they going to have? Maybe in the third and fourth round, like in the semifinals or the finals, that's where you're going to see maybe more of them. But they're going to have to get down there early because they got to quarantine. And then here's my question. Now, let's say all this goes good and it gets to be September. Now, Florida's been kind of proactive as far as opening things up. Is there going to be a time where they're going to let fans in? I don't know the setup on that. That's why I'm asking. Are there going to be fans to watch any of these games, or is it all just going to be televised? That's my next question with that. So I really don't know. So, but there's definitely, these are some of the questions we're going to find out here in the coming weeks for sure. So, a lot to look at with the NBA. And, of course, they've got the social issues just like everybody else in the country right now. And I think this is a good time. This is a good spot for them to use their platform. Now you've got some of the players, again, Avery Bradley and Kyrie Irving, amongst others, that are questioning whether they should play. Dwight Howard, is it the right time to be playing? Should we focus our attention more on the social unrest for social reform? And they're calling out the owners to take more of a step into it. You know, it's kind of, you've got Mark Cuban, who's done, and Michael Jordan, I think they've started the movement. They've donated. They're always proactive. Mark Cuban's always proactive with stuff like this, and I give him a lot of credit for that. And it's good to see Michael Jordan taking a stance on this. I mean, he's donated a lot, $100 million, I believe it was. And the players are calling for more action, more steps to be taken. You know, there's still, with the NBA, the minority hires and the front office and the coaches and general managers and whatnot, staggeringly low. They want more attention being brought to that, more strides being made, if you will, to get more people hired. Of minority descent, African Americans or whatnot. That's what they want more donations from not only the players, but from the owners to go towards social reform. They're going to be their platform for it. And I think it's great that they're able to do that. And I hope that they're able to accomplish it. And the eyes are going to be on the NBA and the NHL. But here in America, especially the NBA, and this is their platform. Because like we said, we've talked about it all night in the last couple weeks, 3 weeks. Baseball is nowhere to be found right now. And as James mentioned, there's a legit possibility that we could have no season in baseball. So August is going to be hockey and basketball's time to shine. And the NBA, of course, is more popular in the United States, begrudgingly with me being a hockey fan, that they're going to be able to take the focus and do that. And I just hope that they're able to achieve success with that as well. So we're going to take a break. We come back, we'll talk a little bit about NHL. We had a GM firing. And also, we've got some good news on the hub front in Canada anyways. So we're going to talk more about that. And then coming up in about 10 minutes, Trevor Beard will join us here, and we'll talk some high school football, just kind of the movement that's going on out in Oregon right now. We'll have him talk about it, and kind of the climate and the sports climate and just the overall climate in general with football and everything else in Oregon and over in the Pacific Northwest. So stick around for that. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Esports are here to stay. Go to jazzsports.ag, log into your account, and look for our new esports section on the top of your screen. Browse through all the different available matches and watch them live with our exclusive esports betting platform. Get instant access to game results, pending and graded bet reports, outright bet types, and upcoming match schedules, all at the easy reach of your fingertips. Jazz Sports puts you in the game.
Drinkade, ready for distribution worldwide.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. Yours truly, Captain Lou, with you on this Thursday, August. It's not August yet. It feels like it up here. Thursday, June the 16th, 2020. And hey, just a reminder again that, if you're looking for some new swag for the summer, something great to wear, freshen up your look maybe over the summer, you got to check out 12 Ounce Sports' new line of clothing. We've got everything from shirts and sweaters to beach towels and phone cases. Find the store online today at 12ouncesportsradio.com under the Our Store tab. And there you will find a wide variety of clothing items, colors, and sizes that suit your style to a T. And that's at 12ouncesportsradio.com. Check out the Our Store tab. Coming up in about 8 minutes, Trevor Beard will join us here on the program, and we'll talk some Oregon football, high school style. They've got a great movement, let them play movement, it's called, and we'll get into that with him. And we'll just get kind of a temperature, if you will, no pun intended, on the climate, on what the sports environment is out in the Pacific Northwest and everything else in general. We'll talk a little pro football with them and see what he thinks about the upcoming NBA season with his Trailblazers, if they've got a shot and whatnot. Just kind of the temperature, if you will, up there in the Pacific Northwest. We've got some hockey news for you. We talked about it. Edmonton, Toronto, and Vancouver were announced today that they can be a hub city in the return-to-play plan. The commissioner, or the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, said that they can be eligible, and they're going to waive if one of those Canadian cities is chosen, they're going to waive the 14-day mandatory quarantine currently in effect for anybody entering Canada. Now, the border's still going to be closed in between Canada and U.S. until July 21st. That was reported today. But that closure is not going to affect NHL players. Some of them have already been traveling to rejoin their teams. So that's great news for the Canadian cities in the NHL looking to vie for one of the hub cities. Now, there's still, I think, 7 in the United States that are vying for those two. Chicago, Dallas, Columbus, I think Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Pittsburgh. And so they're going to pick, I'm just guessing on what they're going to do, but I got a feeling that one of the Canadian cities is going to get it. Either, I'm guessing Vancouver and maybe one of the United States teams. It could be Vegas, or it could be Toronto and Vegas, one on each side, East Coast, West Coast. But I know Vegas has been talked about quite a bit. I think Minneapolis, St. Paul would be a great area for a hub city with the amount of resources they have. And as crazy as it sounds, we talked about this here on the show. Columbus, they've got a lot of rinks too. The ACHA national championships were in Columbus and Dallas for that matter. And they had a lot of locations for us. I think 4 or 5 different sites were multiple rinks. So they could play there. And I think that those would be great locations as well. So we'll keep those, we won't know about that yet, but it's getting closer now. The NHL is going to institute Phase 3 on January, or get winter out of your mind, Lou. I know we're talking about a winter sport here. July the 10th. Phase 3 is going to be implemented, so that means they can start training camp. So hopefully, if everything goes great, that means that they could be up to maybe starting the season, the opening round games, the play-in tournament, the opening round, and also the round-robin tournament right around the 1st of August, maybe the first week of August or whatnot, and they can get the season underway and maybe get the Stanley Cup playoffs done right around the middle of October as well. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. And the big news also in the NHL today was that Jason Botterill got fired as the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres. 3 straight losing seasons. And, he got traded. The timing of this is kind of crazy because the first phase of the draft lottery is coming up here in it's next week, or 10 days. So it'll be a week from Friday. We'll find out what the potential is for the opening round of the draft lottery. The Sabres right now have the 7th best odds, I think, which makes them right around 7%, 6.5%, and those are their odds to win the number 1 pick. So a lot of reshuffling going around. Not only he was fired, and Kevin Adams was hired to replace him, but they also cleaned house at Rochester, their AHL affiliate. Randy Sexton, the GM, he got let go, and so did Chris Taylor and Gord Dineen and Toby Peterson. So crazy. Well, right now, let's go back to our guest line. And on the other end of our line right now, we're joined by Trevor Beard from Westside Mobile Media out in Banks, Oregon. Coming into this year, a high school hotbed, a powerhouse with all these state championships they had. Trevor, thanks for taking time out tonight. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Interesting kind of perspective going on right now, Trevor, with you guys kind of are like Michigan, where it's pretty strict right now for sports and everything else in general. You've got an initiative coming up called the Let Them Play Initiative. Started about a week and a half ago or so. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there in Oregon to try to get high school sports back.
Let Them Play was started about a week and a half ago. I think initially as a petition drive to gather signatures to put some political pressure on Governor Kate Brown. Oregon's a very progressive, very liberal state, very similar to Michigan. Both states are female-led. And it was outside of the petition, it's been kind of a political movement to try to get parents of high school athletes to write to their local senators at the state level to try to persuade Governor Brown to open things up a little bit more for high school sports, because in Oregon, it's a 3-phase approach. Right now, most counties are only at phase 1. Washington County, where I'm at, is one of the last counties to get to phase 1. Multnomah County, which is Portland proper, downtown Portland, still has not even received permission to get to phase 1. And Kate Brown has said, currently at least, that high school sports cannot return in Oregon until at least phase 3. There's some talk possibly about a few of the minor social distancing sports to return to phase 2. That would probably be things like golf, cross country. I would think baseball would be included in that, but according to our athletic director, football and baseball will not be allowed to be played the way things stand now until at least phase 3, which in Oregon would require a vaccine.
Oh, wow. That's pretty intense. Right now in Michigan, depending where you're at, in the upper part up by Lake Superior and northern lower Michigan, they can participate indoors, but obviously got to try to do the social distancing. But for the rest of the state, they can do like passing drills, for example, the social distancing kind. What now with your phase 1, Trevor, in Oregon, is anything allowed, or do they have to wait for phase 2 like us, where they can just throw the ball around? Can they do anything right now for high school sports or any sports?
I did hear today that some of the counties that are already open for phase 2 are allowing people to work in groups. I'm hearing stories about groups of 10. I'm hearing stories about some schools are just having players do workouts at home or in places where there's gyms available to them. But really no passing drills. You can use a ball, but it can't be more than groups of 10. And if you do use a ball within multiple groups, it has to be disinfected after each use.
Oh, wow. That's strict. But right now, I don't know what else you can do. I mean, it's now I got to ask you because I know I'm jealous of some of these other states like Ohio and whatnot that can have the larger gatherings, man. It's got to be tearing you up inside as a sports broadcaster and just a sports fan in general that, we can't, there isn't anything that can be done right now about it.
It is. And you mentioned Ohio. I know some states in the Midwest do year-round school with longer 1-month breaks at Christmas. Oregon is a traditional September to June school year, 9 months. And something I heard about Ohio considering even before OSAA went to a possible three-option scenario, something Oregon's considering is something that I heard Ohio was considering with possibly switching football and baseball seasons and playing baseball in the fall and football in the spring. Oregon's got a pretty wet climate, but it's a little bit warmer than a lot of people in the Midwest might think because we tend to have Indian summers until October. But the problem is there's not a lot of, especially smaller high schools. We're a school of about 375. There's not a lot of smaller public schools with turf baseball fields, so that might pose a problem come October if the state decides to play baseball in the fall.
I know there was some chatter about that here in Michigan too, Trevor, but I think the logistics of it was too late, I think, to do something like that. So I think, at least that's what I heard from some of the folks at the MHSAA here in Michigan, that the logistics were it was too late in the game to try that because they were talking about playing football in the spring too. And
right.
that would be crazy. I never thought in my lifetime, Trevor, I'd ever be talking about high school football in the spring. Wouldn't that be something? Right.
Well, from the social distancing standpoint, I'm not a fan of a vaccine to begin with, but from the social distancing standpoint, baseball to me has quite a bit more social distancing than football. I mean, football, you can't really social distance.
No.
You're not going to be able to play defense without and social distance. So hopefully maybe after the first of the year, there's some kind of solution to the virus that will maybe by the time football starts, if they do play it in the spring, that there will be some kind of option to kill the virus by then that will allow things to hopefully get back to normal. But Oregon things are really confusing because Oregon Scholastic Activities Association, which governs high school sports in Oregon, I'm close friends with their media director, Steve Walker, who was kind of a mentor to me, and he said that it's up to individual schools now, as long as they're in a county where their phase allows them to participate in activities. Oregon Health Authority, the middle of last week, released a 47-page document regarding high school athletics and similar activities on school property and how they're affected by the coronavirus. It stated that community-based activities such as youth sports, high school sports, other activities that communities may use a school facility or school building for can take place as of what they determined to be the end of the school year based on the virus, which was basically the end of May. But every athletic director you talk to say, well, you can't play sports basically until phase 3. So it doesn't really matter what phase the county is in because no counties are at phase 3. And it's going to be, in the governor's own words, a long, long time before any county is at phase 3. And I would not be surprised if she sticks to her guns if that does not happen until after the first of the year.
Wow, that would be rough. I know that. Has there been any talk there, Trevor, about if they do get to play football, if phase 3 gets there by September, of playing in front of no fans or a limited I don't want to use the word enrollment, a limited
Right.
attendance. Has there been talk
Right.
about playing in that kind of scenario out there?
Well, OSAA and Steve personally have both told me that, I mean, as a broadcaster and a fan, I would hate to see a scenario where there's no fans, but I'm kind of planning for that. And he's telling me that with what I do with broadcasting online, that it's actually going to be good for my business because more people would have to follow broadcasts to follow the team if they're not allowed to go to games in person.
Well, you know what that means, Trevor, is you and I work, because I do the same thing. We're going to really have to brush up our chops coming up in the fall, man, because all the eyes and ears will
Right.
be upon us. So this will be go time for us. It's exciting for us, but first and foremost, we got to think of the safety of the players,
Yeah.
and it's going to be touch and go. It sounds like you guys are a little more extreme right now than what it is here in Michigan. And then it's funny because I was talking to a neighbor, or my wife was talking to a neighbor, and their daughter played travel softball in Ohio. And so again, I'm jealous of them because they get to do that. But then it was announced that a semi-pro baseball league is starting back up in Michigan July 1. So I'm holding out hope, Trevor. I really am, that we can get some sports in the fall.
Well, it's strange because you mentioned club level softball. There's actually a few teams around the Northwest, including Oregon, that are playing club level because they're not sanctioned under the OSAA. But I was scheduled to do our school is considered a 4A school on a 6A system. And I live about 10 miles from where the 4A state tournament was scheduled to be held. And they got the smaller tournaments in the weekend prior, 3A, 2A, and 1A. And when it came time for the 4A tournament to start, that was the day after everything happened with Rudy Gobert.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had already had our rooms booked. I was working freelance with a company based in Medford on the opposite end of the state near the California border. So they had to come up north for rooms anyway because of the travel distance. And I lost out on about $600 that I was scheduled to make to do the 4A state tournament with them. That they decided to cancel the 4A tournament about 3 hours before the first game was to be held. And in some instances, in the bigger tournaments, the 6A and 5A, I remember waiting to get in to do the tournament, and an official came up to us and said, "Did you guys hear about 5A?" And we said no. And he said, "Well, they canceled the 5A tournament at halftime of a girls' game at Oregon State."
Oh, wow. Man, that's tough.
And
wow.
Just the emotion, too, of physically seeing female athletes get off the bus, preparing to go in and get ready for warm-ups and meet with their team, and then to be told by their coaches as soon as they get off the bus, basically all their hard work goes out the window because they're not even going to get a chance to compete.
Oh, that's tough. We're joined by Trevor Beard from the Westside Mobile Media, Oregon High School play-by-play out of Banks, Oregon. And Trevor, your high school has had quite a run over the last couple of years with some state championships. Man, that's got to be some exciting times for you to look back on.
Yeah, last year we won state. We lost our first game of the year, and then actually had a 22-game winning streak in football that ended in the state final this year, back in late November. And probably our most well-known coach, his name is Cole Linehan, and you might recognize that last name. His uncle, Scott Linehan, is a longtime NFL coordinator who's now currently passing game coordinator for LSU.
Wow, that's exciting. That is a nice name drop there, Trevor. That's fantastic. So you guys had quite a run. I want to pick your brain a little bit. You're a sports guy. We got the NBA starting their season back up now. your team out there, Portland, now they're in the hunt, right? They're one of the 22 teams. Am I correct in that?
Yes, Portland, Sacramento, Memphis,
Okay.
San Antonio, and Phoenix were the 5 non-current playoff teams to get in the Western Conference because they're still within that 4.5 game range. But when they voted on that to return to play, Portland was the lone no vote.
Wow.
Because as I heard the following day, the reason they voted no was based on they've been given a brutal schedule with pretty much every team that they're going to be scheduled to play in Orlando is a team that's currently in the playoffs.
Wow. That's definitely set up to fail for sure. What's your take on what's going on with Major League Baseball right now?
Well, originally I thought that if they were going to have any chance to really do anything, they'd have to get started by July 4th. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that happening now unless they go without a preseason or exhibition. And it just, if they don't get started soon or don't have a season this year, I hate to say it, but it's going to kill the sport.
Oh, it's going to 100% agree. And it's heartbreaking as being a longtime baseball fan. That used to be my number one sport. Now it's, I've lost, I'll talk about it on my show, but I will not go out of my way to watch it because we're going to be blessed with a lot of sports in the fall, and this was their opportunity, and they blew it, both sides.
Northwest League Baseball, which is single A short season, it's the minor league system in Oregon and Washington. I live about 10 miles from the Hillsboro Hop Stadium, which is the single A short season affiliate for Arizona. And I've probably broadcast about a dozen games or so from there for our high school and some Legion stuff. And I'm friends on Facebook with Jerry Miller, who is owner of the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes, which is affiliated with the Giants. And he said that minor league baseball will not return unless there is a major league season. So we may not even see minor league baseball this year at all either. And it's just, even before everything started happening with the virus, there was a lot of talk about Major League Baseball giving the axe to about 40 different minor league teams. And Salem Kaiser was scheduled to be one of those teams. But it's tough, especially here with no minor league baseball, no Legion. I know some Legion teams are just kind of playing independent due to liability, but it's last year was my first year doing Legion baseball, and most of the Oregon teams aren't even playing Legion baseball this year, and I don't even know what's going to happen in the fall for high school.
Well, Trevor, before I let you go, give yourself a plug. You've done some fantastic work. I've watched you and followed you from afar with your Westside Mobile Media. Tell us a little bit about what you do and, what we can hopefully expect to see in the fall.
Well, people can follow me at shnsports.com. It's a streaming network based out of basically Austin, and the two people that run it are Rob Hipp, who does a lot of play-by-play for Sam Houston State, and Carl Schuning. You may recognize that last name. His dad, Bill Schuning, is the voice of the Spurs.
Okay.
That's kind of my dream, is to get into an NBA or college position. If you do a search for Westside Mobile Media on YouTube or Banks Braves, you can also find my broadcasts through there. And as someone that worked in radio for about 10 years on the Oregon coast, I'm familiar with traditional broadcasting, and just giving a plug to internet broadcasting or streaming. It has a much farther reach than traditional radio or TV broadcasts of games will ever go. I've had people parents that have to work overseas or across the country, they have no problem listening or following my broadcasts online, where traditional radio, maybe even a 50 or 100,000 watt station, you may be able to reach like the other side of the state, but definitely not the reach that the internet allows. But if people want to reach out to me directly, they can contact me at my personal page, Trevor Beard, my Facebook page, Westside Mobile Media, and I'm also on Twitter at West Mobile without the E Media. And my email is westsidemobilemedia@gmail.com.
All right, Trevor, thanks for joining us tonight. Good luck out there in Oregon. We'll keep close tabs
Thank you.
on you. And hopefully the reins can be let up a little bit so you can get some high school sports out there in the fall. Again, thanks for joining us tonight, and good
Sure.
luck to you.
Thank you.
You bet. Trevor Beard from Westside Mobile Media joining us here tonight. High school football, play-by-play man, basketball, baseball, you name it. And it sounds like the reins are a little tight in Oregon right now. Phase 1, some counties really aren't even there yet. And they're kind of a lot like Michigan, where they got to get to at least a Phase 3 and before they will allow sports to be played. My fingers are crossed here in Michigan. I do believe that we will get it here, but in states like Oregon, boy, right now it's up in the air. And, it's like he said, it was so tough back in March when all the seasons came to a crashing halt. Personally, getting ready to cover the ACHA National Championships down in Dallas, and some of the teams that went down there for the first time or were heading there. I mean, we were literally within 4 days of going down there. The regional tournaments were all finished. The seedings were all set for all 5 divisions of the ACHA, and then boom, their season's over. And for some of the kids, that was it. Their college careers were over. And that's the heartbreaking thing. Now, I know life goes on and it's only a game, but I'll tell you what, for these kids, it's tough. And high school, the same thing. Their seasons came to an abrupt halt. As Trevor mentioned with some of them, a good friend of the program, Jimmy Young, who's come on the show, he was down making the trip. He was ready to broadcast the high school hockey tournament, the state finals. And they canceled them within hours. And it was that abrupt. And it was just, you look at the Big Ten tournaments and whatnot. They started the women's tournament and stopped it after one day. Just some crazy times. And so, it really was, or maybe it was the men's tournament, I'm sorry. But so abruptly stopped, all the sports were. And let's hope that, if the seasons can get going, it doesn't bother me as much at the pro level because it's more like a business for a lot of them. But at the high school and the smaller college level, or even any college level, high school level, a lot of these kids, this is it for them. And we hope that if the season starts, it doesn't end abruptly like it did. And that was definitely heartbreaking. And it's been tough to watch right now. And everybody's just waiting. Now, like I said, here in Michigan, they're doing kind of like a Phase 2 approach where they can play, they can have practice, doing the passing drills and whatnot, no contact drills and a lot of running and, doing that with, trying to get cardio in and whatnot. So hopefully Phase 3 can start up and we can get some sort of a semblance of a season. Well, thanks to Trevor Beard for coming on the show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will wrap things up tonight here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Don't go anywhere here on 12 Ounce Sports.
DrinkAid, ready for distribution worldwide.
Esports are here to stay. Go to jazzsports.ag, log into your account, and look for our new esports section on the top of your screen. Browse through all the different available matches and watch them live with our exclusive esports betting platform. Get instant access to game results, pending and graded bet reports, outright bet types, and upcoming match schedules, all at the easy reach of your fingertips. Jazz Sports puts you in the game.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports as we come to a close here shortly on this June the 16th, 2020 episode. Again, a reminder that 12 Ounce Sports is your home for the best live talk shows and sports broadcasts. You know, you can catch my show right here, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and all the others on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And now you can catch us live on Zingo TV. Zingo TV has added 12 Ounce Sports to their long list of channels. And now if you're on your smart TV, just download the app and flip to channel 761 to catch all of our live 12 Ounce Sports programming plus replays. All you got to do, again, download the Zingo TV app and use the promo code 12 Ounce. That's 12OZ when signing up. It's that simple. Be sure to check out our latest blogs and podcasts as well on 12ouncesportsradio.com. And I got to tell you guys about mybookie.ag. Sports are coming back. We've got golf. We've got NASCAR already going on. And we've got baseball. I'm sorry. Why do I always say baseball? They're nowhere near coming. We've got hockey and basketball coming up. You got ML. You got soccer you can bet on. If you want to get in on the action, mybookie.ag is the place to be. And also coming up this weekend, I think, is the Belmont Stakes. So go to mybookie.ag, and they will match your first deposit up to $1,000 when you use the promo code 12Ounce Sports when you sign up. That's mybookie.ag, and the promo code is 12Ounce Sports. You don't want to miss your chance to cash that ticket during the NHL and NBA playoffs, or even this weekend with the Belmont. And you can help us here at 12 Ounce Sports. Use the promo code 12 Ounce Sports when signing up on mybookie.ag and get your deposit matched up to $1,000. Daniel Berger won the PGA tournament. First tournament of the year since the coronavirus hit for the PGA. A little different to watch, but you got to hear a little bit of the chatter back and forth between the players. The big names, boy, they kind of fell by the wayside on Sunday. And Daniel Berger came from not really from nowhere, but he was steady, and he won the tournament in the playoffs. So congratulations to him. The PGA tournament, or the season, is back. I think they're going to play in front of no fans at least till 4th of July weekend here in the Detroit area. They got a tournament coming up. And after that, I think they're going to kind of judge the situation and see, you know, how the pandemic situation and whatnot is going on. So crazy times still we're living in, everybody. You know, baseball's broken right now. They've got they've got nobody to blame but themselves. Hockey, July 10th, looks like training camp is going to start. Phase 3, that's great news. The draft lottery is coming up in 10 days. So we're going to look forward to that. We're going to talk all about that in a couple of weeks. Just a programming note. I will not be on next Tuesday. I've got some personal things I got to take care of next week. So we're going to take a little sabbatical. I'm going to kind of refresh, recharge. Got some things I got to take care of, but we'll be on in 2 weeks from tonight with a great show planned up. We'll have the draft lottery results. Hopefully we'll have some good news on baseball by then. So we'll see you in 2 weeks here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, 8 o'clock Eastern time for more. So we want to just kind of give you a heads up on that. So again, basketball starting up July 31st. We went through their guidelines of what's coming up for them. Training camp going to start in about 3 weeks for them as well. And some stringent guidelines, but I think they're going to work. And I think you're going to see a very successful NBA playoff. And I think it's going to be a fun and successful NHL playoff with the 24 teams, the round robin for the top 4 in each conference, and then the opening weekend qualifying rounds. There's going to be some upsets in that. Once we get the date set up for those, we're going to have a very interesting show. I'm going to invite 2 of my hockey insiders. We're going to have a little back and forth with them, and that's going to be fun. So stick around look for that in July once we get everything set up. So, well, that's going to about do it tonight here on the show. We want to thank everybody for stopping by and checking us out on Zingo TV channel 761. And, of course, all of our other platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, here on 12 Ounce Sports. We want to thank James Paxson for coming on. Some great baseball talk in the first hour, and Trevor Beard for coming on, talking a little high school sports and the situation that's going on in the Pacific Northwest and also the state of Oregon with their guidelines are still, they're one of the more stricter states in the country when it comes to, the stay-at-home orders and whatnot. So still a lot of work ahead, but it apparently needs to be done. So, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. We will see you in 2 weeks. And once again, this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, please keep your minds open. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza.